Our president.
Here.
Vice president is here. Secretary LaSorsa. Our treasurer.
Here.
Our vice treasurer.
Here.
Chief Justice Nolan.
Here.
Chief of Staff Belosny.
He's late.
Late. Cool. Director of Community Outreach. Director of PR. College Counsel. Senator Ahmed. Senator Candela. Senator Chaput. Senator Cortez. Senator Fisher. Senator Mavros. Senator Velez. Senator Wu. Senator Zapata is excused. Advisor George. Advisor Wadsworth. Webb. CFB. Wildcat Media. Wildcat Esports. Our SAC rep. And Res Life will be late. All right. We will now move into the approval of our minutes and agenda. Is there any discussion for our minutes and agenda? I would like to entertain a motion to move open forum to right after guest speakers. So moved by Senator Velez. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Chaput. Is there any discussion for that? Senator Velez. Why? That way we could have some of our candidates for our election come up and announce their candidacy, just to give them some extra time, and also to do pro temp. Our advisors.
Just wondering if there would still maybe consideration for a second open forum?
Yep.
If any candidates aren't here in the beginning to announce, if they still want to come at the end, if they were planning to attend, thought it would be at the end?
Yeah, that would still be a thing, just because whenever we finish new business, we will go into open forum. So it would just be open forum, then reports, then our business, and then back to open forum. Is there any more discussion on the motion to move open forum till after guest speakers? I know that was fast, so I'll give you guys some breathing room. All right, with no further discussion, we will move into voting. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All who oppose? And all who abstain. That passes 7-0-0. All right. We are now back into the approval of our minutes and agenda. Is there any discussion for our minutes and agenda? All right, seeing as there is no discussion, we will move into voting. All who are in favor, please raise your hand. All who oppose? And all who abstain. That passes 7-0-0. All right. We will now move on to guest speakers. There are no guest speakers, and we are now at open forum. If you are announcing your candidacy, please come up next to our CFB rep and steal their mic and announce your candidacy.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. You just need to announce your name and then what you're running for.
Okay. My name is Noah, and I'm running for SGU president.
Hello, my name is John Pertell, and I'm re-running for College Council student rep.
Hello, my name is Summer Wu, and I'm running for Chief Justice.
All right. Our treasurer.
Can I entertain a motion to reopen
Discussion on the minutes from March 27th, 2025.
Sure. Do we have a so moved? So moved by Senator Candela. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Mavros. All right, we are now in discussion to reopen our minutes. Is there any discussion on our minutes? Of 3/27.
Point of order, we're still in discussion for the motion to reopen discussion. We did not vote on the motion to reopen discussion.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion to reopen discussion? Senator Mavros.
Budget committee gave a report this past, or last week rather. It's not within the minutes. This is the fault of the chair of the budget committee for not submitting the report, but I'd still like to add it in there for historical purposes. I yield.
Is there any more discussion on the motion to reopen our minutes? All right. Seeing as there is no discussion, we'll move into voting. Does anyone oppose unanimous consent? All right, that passes. We are now back in our treasurer.
May I entertain a motion to modify under reports, or committee reports, my apologies, budget to read budget. Hi everyone, we're getting there. We have not yet finished. With any luck, we'll be able to finish the budget this Friday and have something for y'all to look at next week. If that doesn't go as planned, just push everything back a week. We're still waiting to wrap up a few of the org proposed budgets and then reconcile it all in one big happy budget for next year. I yield.
All right. Is there any, do we have a so moved for that motion? So moved by Senator Chaput. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Candela. Is there any discussion for that motion to add Budget Committee's report? Oh, all right, seeing as there is no discussion, we will move into voting. Does anyone oppose unanimous consent? Awesome. All right, that passes. All right, we are now back into open forum.
Point of order, are we not still in discussion of the minutes and agenda?
Oh, yeah, you're right, because you reopened it. That makes sense. All right, so I guess we're back into the minutes and agenda. Thank you. Is there any more discussion on our minutes and agenda? Awesome. All right. With that, we will move into voting. All those who are in favor, please raise your hand. All who oppose, and all who abstain. That passes 7-0-0. Now we're back in the open forum, this time for sure. Is there anything else for open forum at the moment? And I'm going to use that as a way to pull up our policies and procedures. Hold on, I'll find it for sure. I want to make sure we do this right. Here we go. If someone could start playing the Jeopardy theme while I try and find this, I would really feel seen. Come on. All right. Do you remember what section it is, Kaylee? Pro temp. Here we go. Never mind. I found it. Oh, well, that was easy. With that, the Senate floor is now open to nominations for pro temp. Would anyone like to make a nomination for the pro tempore? Senator Candela.
I nominate Chris Mavros, Senator Mavros, as.
Do you accept the nomination, Senator Mavros?
I accept the nomination.
Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Wu. Is there anyone else who would like to nominate someone or run for pro temp? Senator Chaput.
I nominate
Senator Fisher.
Right. Do you accept?
I accept the nomination.
Right. And do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Ahmed. Right. Is there any other nominations or anyone would like to run? Raise your hand if you want to. Okay. All right. With that, we will start the election. Hold on. All right. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how this works. I guess in that case, could our two candidates please run up to the mic?
Basically just do this.
Sorry, just making sure that I cover everything. All right. So now we will open a period of discussion. If
quick
anyone
question.
would like to ask our nominees a question, feel free to do so. And what's up?
Can we do a quick bio?
Yeah, go for it. And then we'll start with the bio. We'll open up to questions, and the questions will be for the both of them. So they'll just switch mics, and then we can ask the next question. Make sense? Sweet. All right. Let's roll.
Hello, everyone. I'm Matthew Fisher. I'm a current second-year senator. I'm also the chair of SC Committee and co-chair of Class Gift. I've been in SGU for 2 years now. I have previous leadership experience and managerial skills. I think I'd be a good fit for this role. There you go. There.
Hello, I'm Christopher Mavros. I'm a senator, as you may know. This is technically my 4th semester as part of SGU. I was in SGU my freshman year. I then transferred around to different schools. I came back this past fall, and now I'm back here in SGU. Thank you.
All right. We will now open a period of questioning. Senator Chaput, what is your question?
Candidates, why do you think you should be?
So I was nominated, so I'm sure my peers think I'll be a qualified fit. So with that, I'm willing to take up the role, as if they think I'm qualified, then I would be willing to work the best of my ability for this role. Additionally, I do have a wide view, as I did transfer to not one but 2 other schools besides SUNY Polytechnic. So I have a wide view of how other schools do it as well. Thank you.
I'd like to say I've been in previous leadership experience. I was the president of SGU in my high school. No, sorry, not SGU, sorry, NHS. President and treasurer of my tech club. I've always been in a leadership role. I work with a lot of coworkers in my job. I also feel I have a lot of managerial skills and I can work well with people. I feel communication in the Senate is very key, and I feel a pro tem should be able to communicate with their. Now, I wouldn't say they're. How do I say this? You're not really their supervisors. You want to be their coworker. You don't want to be dictator. How do you say it? Never mind. I don't know how to say it. You want to treat everyone friendly, be social, and you want to be able to reach out to students. This pro tem is, in the role description, supposed to go out and fill the senator positions. I feel a pro tem such as myself, I will be able to go out and get more senators to join SGU. So I feel that's why I'm a good choice for this position. Sorry.
It's okay.
A little
Take your
nervous.
time. Are there any other questions? Our president.
How would you, as pro temp, look to better yourselves and the other senators and the work that they do on the Senate during the meetings and outside of the meetings in their committees and with the legislation that they write?
I can't hear that well.
Sure. How would you, as pro temp, look to better yourselves, your other peer senators, and look to improve the work that they do during their committees, during our business meetings this week, during Thursdays, and during their own work time, when they're writing when they're writing legislation and working with other students to bring up concerns and help solve them?
I feel our training has been really inadequate the last few years. So the first step I would do is to better the training. I feel I have trained myself more as a senator, and I feel experience speaks value. I feel we should do weekly training, if available. Weekly training, and we should do more Senate meetings, and we should probably do workshops to write bills, because I know for a fact a lot of us have not written bills personally. Senators, I feel, don't really write bills anymore. So I feel that we should start doing workshops so we can understand how to write the bills and how to read them and how to discuss them and how to bring students' opinion to them. Because you're not voicing your opinion, you're voicing the student's opinion. You're supposed to be a conduit for the student's opinion. And that's why I think I'd be a good representative for pro temp.
So to answer your question about how to better myself and also better my peers, that I can't necessarily just better myself without just thinking myself, because in life, not just in SGU, but in general too, your peers is what helps you get you where you want to be. So by bettering myself, I would also be bettering my peers, and one of the ways to do that, as Senator Fisher did also mention too, training within the Senate and also SGU has been not the best the past year or so, and I could say that from my first year, my freshman year, that training was not the same training that I received this past fall. And with that, I would definitely be working with the e-board and the fellow senators and seeing which areas to definitely build upon too, because it has not been adequate, and I can't stress that enough. Additionally, kind of also working between the e-board and the Senate too, and open up additional ways of communication, so it's better communication amongst ourselves in order to facilitate more collaboration on different projects within student government. Thank you.
Wildcat Media.
So historically, senators are supposed to historically, we know that SGU has a disconnect a little bit from the student body. Senator, how would you improve how would you improve the relations between the senators and their constituents?
So, there's one bill currently to have the projector being used too. That's one way I could definitely see would be helpful, as it makes the agenda and the minutes more accessible, because currently it's only really accessible through Engage or the paper copies, which isn't necessarily the easiest way to view what's currently going on. Additionally, going around talking to students, just casual conversation, hey, I'm part of SGU, what would you like to see around campus? I've done that a fair bit, especially when I was doing my signature sheets for secretary election coming up, and also during the past special election when I had to rerun for senator position as well. Doing that too, I've had a conversation with several students, see what concerns they had around campus, and had casual conversation with them essentially. Thank you.
Sorry. What was the question again? Sorry.
How would you improve the
Oh.
relations between the Senate and their constituents?
So student body, okay. Personally, I know I went out and did surveying for my survey for the Student Center Committee, and I feel just talking with the student body, you get a better understanding of what they want. Personally, when I did that, I now know we have 2 projects that are really in desperate need. Currently, I found out that the NPR lighting's not really that good for photography, and that a lot of the furniture in the SC is not really in good shape anymore, and this is stuff we need to work on. I feel if we talk to the students more, either by having senators go to clubs, or I know there was a requirement back then of having senators go to a first-year seminar class. Maybe we could reinstate that, because that's another way. We want to get, you could talk to the first years, and if we can start telling people about SU sooner rather than later, it'll help. It won't get them to have a negative opinion of SGU, say like, oh, I just joined a club, and then SGU's, we don't have our money, which the situation last year. I feel like if we would have talked to the students more, we could have prevented a lot of what happened last year. Sorry. Another way is, one second, sorry. I had an idea, I just can't think of it now. Oh yeah, sorry, polling. I did see that polling hours now are being put in the locations other than the student center, where previously they've only been in the student center. And not all students go to the student center. Even though it is one of the most popular places on campus, I feel having the polling hours in the other places is very beneficial, and we should continue to do that. So that's what I feel, how we could better connect with the student body, and eventually maybe have students have a positive view of SGU and not have this disconnect between students and senators and SGU. I yield.
Our treasurer.
How would you define the role of pro temp?
Okay, there's two ways I defined it. There's of course, what's said on the contract. They're supposed to be the supervisor of the Senate. They're supposed to hand down reprimand if a senator does something wrong. They're also supposed to attend the cabinet meetings, and they're supposed to attend these meetings and 3 committee meetings. It's just basically head senator. But how I would describe it is the senator, I feel, is, because it represents in the cabinet, I feel like it's allowing the Senate to have more of a voice talking to the E-board. When if we don't have a pro temp in the cabinet meeting, the senators really can't have voice their opinions to the E-board in a meeting like the cabinet. So, sorry, the pro temp is like the, how do I say this? Is liaison the right word for this? Liaison for the Senate. And I also feel the Senate pro temp, it's like they're supposed to be like how do I say it? Not a figure. They're supposed to be someone you're supposed to, like, if you need help, you go to. It's supposed to be someone who knows the job a little bit, and if you need help, you can go up and ask them, because they, like, say you need help with a bill, you can go up to the pro temp and help them. They're not supposed to be like this scary person, your supervisor. They're supposed to be like, yeah, like your supervisor, but, you know, a pro temp needs to be approachable, if you know what I mean. Sorry. Sorry. I'm a little nervous. I had a speech rehearsal last night.
So the pro temp, in essence, is basically, as Fisher stated, is pretty much the supervisor of the senators too. They act as a connection in between the executive board and the Senate too. The main responsibility is to ensure that the Senate is adequate in their capabilities and they're able to sufficiently carry out their responsibilities, and if they're not, be able to make the necessary adjustments so that they are able to get the job done. And they're also supposed to be, again, as Fisher stated, to the friendly face among the senators to ensure that they are together and cohesive. Thank you.
Senator Wu.
So instead of talking about experience being a leader amongst other people who aren't in SGU, how would you say that you've been a leader in SGU to your fellow senators already?
So you're talking like within SGU as a leadership, like just among us, correct?
Training people? Have you been helping people out, getting their feet on the ground when they first start?
Yes, I have. I try to always help out when I can, because I am the chair of 2 committees. I'm also a member of 2 other committees as well, so I do a full 4 committees, so I'm active among the Senate as well. As you know already, too, I did help you write your first bill like last week or so. So whenever something needs a hand of some kind too, I'm always willing to help out in any way possible.
How I feel I've been a leader is when we first started last semester, I was one of the few remaining senators from the previous year. When we got the new people, I know that I helped people on how to read the bills, how to read resolutions, how to, I helped, can I ask questions or no? I can't ask questions, no, can I?
I wouldn't
Okay,
personally.
sorry.
It's okay. I'll just do the best that you can.
So, I help people help how to read and write bills about basic procedure, as I was, I also have I'm also the chair of the SC committee. I'm also the co-chair of the class gift committee, which you are chair of. I feel that, and also, when we did the time audit, I put in, I think, around 15 hours. And that was, some of that was, when I had time, I would go to other committees to help other people. I also many hours I helped with that. That was required. I feel like my previous experience has allowed me to help the new senators get more adequately trained to their jobs. I don't know if that sounds bad. I feel like if anyone is struggling in SGU, I feel like as pro temp, you could come to me and I would help. I'm basically, if anyone needs help in SGU, I'm always willing to help. My email's always open until 8 p.m. every day. I am constantly checking my email. I'm always on the Telegram when something important happens. And usually, if you ask for me to be a place, I will be there. So, sorry.
I'm gonna wrap up questioning there. No, he already did. He was the first one too. So do I motion for an or do I? Okay. Could I entertain a motion to move into executive session? Wow, so sad that motion dies. Could I, our president?
Can I entertain a motion to move into an executive session where we can discuss the candidates and vote upon who we want as our pro temp?
All right, so moved by Senator Wu. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Chaput. Is there any discussion for moving into executive session? Or do we even need a discussion? No?
I do think that we can't vote while we're in executive session because they're going to have to be excluded from executive session, but they do have the right to vote for themselves.
Yes, exactly. So it would just be to discuss amongst ourselves, and then when they get back, it'll be secret ballot, right?
Yep.
All right. Is there any discussion? Our president.
Can I amend my so moved motion to say move into an executive session to discuss the candidates?
Do we have a so moved? So moved by Senator Chaput. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Velez. Is there any discussion on the amendment to the motion? All right, seeing as there is no discussion, we'll move into voting. Does anyone oppose unanimous consent? All right, that passes. We are now in the motion to go into executive session. Is there any discussion on that motion? All right, seeing as there is no discussion, we'll move into voting. Does anyone oppose unanimous consent? Nope. Sweet. Cool. That passes. We are now in executive session. If you need a pen, let us know. We'll give you a pen. And make sure that you fold the paper too, and then give them to Lucas or me, and then we'll count the ballots. Also, just as a reminder, everything that is said in executive session is it's confidential. So do not share anything in executive session. You'll be sued. Huh? What do you mean? It's an abstination. It's just the people who are here.
No, but he wasn't here earlier. Did you call his name?
Yeah, he did not answer.
Yeah, he's not.
Yes, he is not here. Lucas, can you be a deer and count with me?
Yeah, do you want to go in the back so no one can?
Yeah. Let's take this bad boy. We're back. Sorry, I probably should have handed the chair. Congratulations, Senator Mavros. We will swear you in at the end of the meeting, or do you want to do it now? Do it now? Okay. Can you come to the horseshoe so we can swear you in? Yeah.
Are we in the swear-in section of the agenda?
I thought swear-ins were just like combined with open forum. No? Okay, never mind then. Sit back. Our treasurer.
Can I entertain a motion to exit open forum and get on with the rest of the agenda? I would like to clarify that we do still have a secondary open forum section at the end of our agenda, but it's now 1:11 and we still have 2 bills and all of our reports to go through. I yield.
Seconded by Senator, or sorry, so moved by Senator Chaput. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Mavros. Pro Temp Mavros. Wait, he wasn't sworn in yet. Is there any discussion on the motion to exit open forum and go into the rest of our reports and business for the day? All right, With there being no more discussion, we'll move into voting. Does anyone oppose unanimous consent? All right, that passes. We are now out of open forum, and we are moving on to announcements, because I forgot to do those. I apologize. I'm running on 2 hours of sleep, fellas. So with the election, so there is the actual SGU election today. We're sending out a campus announcement. That's going to be where you can vote. We're also having polling hours. Feel free to scan the QR codes and cast your votes. We also have org head applications out. That is also within that campus announcement. Or you can just email myself, the rest of the e-board, or the advisors for that form too. But it will be in the campus announcement where you guys can decide if you don't run to be an org head if you wanted to. All right. That is it for announcements, unless there's something else that I'm forgetting. We are now moving on to reports. Our president.
No report.
All right. Our vice president. No report. Our treasurer.
No report.
Our secretary. Our chief of staff. Not here. Right. Our chief justice.
No report.
Our college counsel. Reslife. Not here. Director of PR.
The laser cut and name tag that I've been working on are almost finished, so they should be done by the next Sunday.
Our stack rep.
Next week is D3 week, so we have some events coming out. There should be a schedule, calendar kind of thing coming out hopefully by this weekend. I'm not personally working on it, so I don't know how long it's taking, but hopefully that'll be out, and we're going to have some events throughout the week, so hopefully you guys will show up and participate.
All right. Our advisors.
The election opens today at 2 o'clock. Hopefully we can all have a great election. Everybody can cast their votes. We can get it out to the rest of the students. So you can be found on Engage. If you log in, there will be an alert that pops up. Highly encourage all students to vote.
As you're encouraging, please also encourage the ratification and the passing of the required mandatory student activities fee. It is critically important to the workings and the activities and all of the opportunities involved within the student government. So although if you're working a polling table, you cannot promote any individual candidates, you can promote the passing of the student activities fee. So anyone who's working a polling station, feel free to encourage students to please say yes. You can tell them why it's
Moving on to committee reports. Budget committee.
Hi, everyone. The budget is hopefully very close to being wrapped up. I am planning to present something to the Senate next week, assuming tomorrow's committee meeting goes well. It's from 2 to 4 p.m., SGU conference room. If you can be there, please be there. I'm inviting all of our Senate, all of our Horseshoe, any of our interested audience members, especially our organizational representatives. It's very important that everyone's in the room, and of course, while we will have time to discuss it on the Senate floor next week, it's a lot easier to make amendments while we're in the conference room, not in the MPR. I yield.
Classic of committee.
I am pleased to announce that we've decided on a class gift to redesign the Student Center entrance, and we're planning to have a resolution on the table for the check to be cut come next meeting. Thank you.
Food committee. That chair's not here. Policy committee, no report. Does anyone from food committee, can any of you guys give a report? I'm gonna take all the shaking heads as a no. Safety and facilities.
So we'll be tomorrow in the SGU conference room at 11 as usual. We have quite a few things on the agenda to go around campus, and thank you. Have a funky fresh Thursday. Thank you.
SC committee.
The Student Center Advisory Committee meeting met, I meant to say committee, met last Thursday, 3 27, 2025. In the meeting, we discussed the finalization of the felt repair, which is confirmed and approved to be happening on April 24th, 2025, so it is finally happening. It only took a year. We also are still waiting for items from some previous purchases that are in now. We discussed some new projects either for this year or probably next year. Of those projects include some new furniture for the Student Center and better lighting for the NPRs. These projects come from the responses we got from the survey this semester and what students want to see in the Student Center. We will be having another meeting today from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. in the SGU conference room. These meetings are open to the public. Hope to see you all there. I yield.
Moving on to org reports. Webb.
This week we had Squid Games, which was an absolute hit, so thank you to everybody that showed up. Tonight we have the movie in the theater. It's Cocaine Bear, and we have popcorn for you all, free popcorn, thanks to CSI. And then this weekend on the 4th, 5th, and 6th, we have the free Minecraft movie at Rome Cinemas with your student ID. And then next week, the 8th, we have our summer bingo, and the 10th, we have our spring painting. All are in the NPR, and they start at 7. And just a little heads up, we are 3 weeks out to Apocalypse Week. So thank you. I yield.
CFB. Wildcat Media.
By this Tuesday, we're going to have the final, or not, our first final draft of the Factory Time semesterly issue done. Printing should be sent to the print shop around April 15th, April 18th. I yield.
And esports.
It is with great pleasure that our Rocket League team defeated both you all in RPI and the ECAC Esports Last Chance qualifiers, and this secures them a spot in the Spring Showdown LAN tournament this weekend on the RPI campus. They're going to be attending that. We'll be keeping everybody updated on our Discord and social media. The event is going to be streamed on Twitch through ECAC_esports. We hope to see everybody there to show their support while they play for gold.
All right, that concludes our reports. Now moving on to old business. Bill 2425-09, Senator Ahmed. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Chaput. Oh, yes, thank you.
We, the members of student government at Utica of SUNY Poly, as represented in the Senate, do hereby enact as follows. The purpose of this bill is to expand emergency powers in the case there are missing SGU members.
Do we have any discussion on this bill? Our treasurer.
I guess I have a question for our advisors. With regards to the numbering being incorrect for portions of this bill, because the original motion to change some of these sections to subsections messed up the numbering. Is that something that falls under House rules to fix, or would you recommend making a motion to amend those?
A motion to amend those again.
Our treasurer.
Can I entertain a motion to modify the number 19.2.4 to be 19.2.3?
Do we have a so moved? So moved by Senator Mavros. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Chaput. We are now in discussion to change 19.2.4 to 19.2.3. Is there any discussion on that motion? Senator Chaput.
Like 60 seconds so I can pull up the policies real quick.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's just changing the number. It's not.
No, yeah, I'm just wondering if that we just like left out.
Oh, gotcha.
I just don't know if we,
That makes sense. While he's looking, is there any other discussion on this motion? Senator Chaput.
So now looking at current
Currently in the current policies and procedures, it is 19.2.3 currently. I think this might have just been a typo when writing up the bill.
Yeah. Our treasurer.
To clarify, policy committee added a section, an additional 19.2.3 section. Last week it was amended to instead be a subsection of 9. Yeah, I yield.
Is there any other discussion on the motion to change 19.2.4 to 19.2.3? All right. Seeing as there is no discussion, we will move into voting on that motion. All in favor, please raise your hand. All who oppose? And all who abstain. That passes 7-0-0. All right. Is there any other discussion for the bill as a whole? Our treasurer.
First off, I apologize for not being at policy committee. Second of all, under section 19.3.1, it states that the form outlined in Appendix I will be attached to a purchase voucher that will then be used to purchase the products. I guess I'm a little confused from a timeline perspective on how that works. I'm assuming that form is required to be signed first, and then the purchase voucher would go through separately.
Yes. Hold on, let me check Appendix I real quick, because I'm pretty sure Appendix I is the, if anyone else has an answer, feel free to raise your hand. Could you restate the question?
Sure. So under section 19.3.1, the final sentence states that the form outlined in Appendix I will be attached to a purchase voucher that will then be used to purchase the products. The Appendix I is the emergency action forms. The second one, I'm assuming, is what it's referring to with regards to the emergency action reserves pool form. But it's not clear to me on whether or not this sidesteps the purchase request approval process, because that's outlined within financial policy. And I'm also not certain, generally speaking, right, if you pull funds, once those funds are available, you don't have to attach supporting documentation for the original transfer of funds to those purchases, because once the funds are approved, then whatever account that it is that you're making those purchases through has those funds, so you don't need to justify the transfer of the funds that are already there. Does that make sense? I'm going to yield back to our chair.
Yes, that does. I think in that case it would sidestep, just because, just based on the hierarchy, our financial policy is like a tree off of our main policies. And again, this is emergency powers, so that would make sense as to why it would be that way. But if someone else has any other opinions, our advisors.
I'm not sure if I understand all of what you said. I was trying to read it and listen, and I'm not sure if I understood the question that you were asking originally. I apologize if I answer a question that you didn't ask. But it seems that it would follow the same policy in that once the reserve pool is approved by all parties, right, and it's deposited into whatever account is allocated to within the reserve outline, right, whatever it has to say, yes, we want this much to go to WEB or student center committee or wherever it's going, then they would follow this traditional policy of the purchase voucher approval process. Is that what you asked? I don't think so, right?
Almost. It states that the form, the emergency action reserves form, right, that has to be signed off on, would be required to be attached to those purchase vouchers. And I guess I'm a little confused on the reasoning behind that. I do, just sort of in the same vein, I don't believe it outlines a process for sidestepping the purchase request process. I'm also not certain that our financial policy necessarily is under our policies and procedures. I'm not seeing a breakdown. My understanding is they operate side by side, so I don't think we can just assume that our policies and procedures will supersede the financial policy. And I think that's something we might want to look at, because in a situation where we don't have an executive board, we of course don't have a treasurer. I'm going to yield to our advisor.
To order specific things in order to meet the money would be in there, but with an emergency action reserve pool, it's a very specific outline why you would do a reserve pool, right? Emergency actions, to provide services or support to students. It's not for programming or campus improvements or other things that would be used for. So I think it makes sense to attach the documentation at that point. That makes sense. Is that too much? I apologize if I read that, but I think reading it in that way makes sense. I yield.
Our treasurer.
It does make sense, and I do understand, I guess, the extra step, given it is, emergency action, reserves pools. But I guess then on to my second point, which is fully different, right? You did satisfy that question, and I appreciate it, is whether or not this has to follow the purchase request approval process that we typically go through. It states, it doesn't seem to be addressed, and per SUNY policies, the SGU advisor could make purchases on behalf of the student association, but per our policies, they would need approval from other people. And I don't know if that's something we want to place in there, because if it is, especially my understanding is this bill was brought about because we had an extraordinary situation where we didn't have student leaders in positions where we need to have student leaders. I'm going to let the Senate think about that for a while and yield back to our chair.
Is there any more discussion for this bill as a whole? Do you guys want a minute to think, or do you want to move into voting? This is unofficial way of me. Okay. Senator Velez.
Treasurer Grayson, can you clarify that last statement you made? So, by what you said, are we technically outside of SUNY policies in that?
Sorry, I'll restate.
Since we depend on.
So, the way SUNY policies serve as sort of an overarching, right, policies, and then our policies fall underneath it. We specify things, right, to a little more detail. SUNY policies just say that the campus president or campus designee has to review and approve financial transactions, right, and that would be our advisors. Within our policies, though, our financial policy outlines a process by which the sponsoring group's treasurer, the sponsoring group's advisor, and then the SGU advisor, SGU treasurer need to approve financial transactions. And in a situation where a student government wanted to purchase something, but they didn't have a treasurer, the duty would fall upon the president, right? But if we also don't have a president, then there's not really anyone who can fill that, signature, sign for that spot. So it would bring us back to, sort of the situation where, strictly speaking, we could pull funds, but then we couldn't actually spend them. I'm going to yield to Senator Chaput.
Do you think there would be a case where the action to put in a president, like a temporary president, in these temporary executive positions would happen after a reserves pool? Like, do you think that would be a case? Because I feel like the first thing would be to fill up those positions, and then you wouldn't have that issue. And I know that's a lot of common sense, but also
I would
policy,
hope so, but it's I don't. It's hard to say who's if this policy exists in 10 years, who's going to be here in 10 years. We don't know what the future is going to bring. I don't think anyone predicted the pandemic or shutdown, and that was certainly an event that merited, this policy being created in the first place. I yield back to Senator Chaput.
So, and this is just a general question for the entirety of the Senate as well. Do you guys think it would be worthwhile to add in another subsection to this bill to state that before, and of course it's not an actual motion, so it's kind of just me just rambling here, but to add in a subsection basically stating that the positions must be filled before a purchase request can go through in the emergency action period? I'll yield.
Our advisors.
The advisor and/or any members of an available SGU executive board can propose temporary changes to policies and procedures in order to conduct business and operating procedures. And maybe I'm missing it if it's somewhere else. I'm sorry if I am. I'm like reading it piecemeal. I haven't read it since it came out 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? In its full entirety. I'm wondering if in that line it makes sense to add financial policy in there, because policies and procedures is a separate document. But if there are no executives and the advisor and or the vice president have to approve of the spending of the funds, right, to supersede financial policy, I wonder if the temporary changes to financial policy could be added in order to, because it says in order to conduct business and operating procedures. So you could just add a simple and financial policy in there, and then you would be covered that changes could temporarily be made if some of those stages can't be fulfilled. It can still move forward. Does that make sense? I yield.
Our treasurer.
From a naming perspective, given that the names of our documents, I think we've had policies and procedures for a while, but I can very easily see situations in the future where they become bylaws or just policies or something similar, and same with financial policy, might one day be merged, renamed, anything else. Do you think it would be appropriate to simply change it to read, has the ability to propose temporary changes to their governing documents, excluding the Constitution, because I don't think that's something we want to allow to change, in order to conduct business and operating procedures? Giving our advisors approval, I'm going to entertain a motion to modify under section 19.2.0 for the first sentence to read, during the period of emergency action, the available SGU Executive Board and SGU Advisor has the ability to propose temporary changes to their governing documents, opening parentheses, excluding the Constitution, closing parentheses, in order to conduct business and operating procedures.
Do we have a so moved? So moved by Senator Wu. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Mavros. All right, we are now in discussion for that motion. Is there any discussion on that motion? All right, seeing as there is no discussion, we will move into voting. All in favor, please raise your hand. All who oppose? And all who abstain. That passes 7-0-1. All right, is there any more discussion for the bill as a whole? Our president.
Can I entertain a motion to modify the Section 5 duration to say this bill will be in effect upon ratification of the Senate?
All right, do we have a so moved? So moved by Senator Mavros. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Candela. Is there any discussion for that motion?
What does that mean?
Do you wanna?
It's just the Senate passes it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion on changing that bit in duration? Senator Mavros.
Kind of just more of a general question. If that line was not included and this bill were to pass, would it not go into effect at all then? Okay.
That's weird, but okay. Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, it's the opposite. It would be in effect until they're rewritten, which then that implies that the policies will be rewritten and that they should be rewritten. But it's just kind of strange and not at all aligned with what any of the previous legislation that we've done this year, last year, the year before has looked like for something like this. So I yield.
Is there any more discussion? All right, seeing as there is no more discussion, we will move into voting. All those in favor of the motion to change that duration bit, please raise your hand. All who oppose? And all who abstain. That passes 8-0-0. All right, we are now back into the Emergency Power Edition bill as a whole. Is there any more discussion on that? Our treasurer.
Can I entertain a motion to modify section 19.1.2 to be a subsection of 19.1.1? I feel that it's pretty much entirely related to the preceding section. It doesn't really stand on its own. I yield.
Do you have a so moved? Yeah.
So you're saying 19.1.2 to be 19.1.1.1, correct? All right.
I would also like to very gently and politely ask our members to not speak out of turn, pretty please. If you guys have questions, feel free to point of clarification and point of information. Just wanted to slide that out there. Our treasurer, can you please repeat your motion?
To modify section 19.1.2 to be a subsection of 19.1.1, it would be indented towards the right, and its section number would be 19.1.1.1. I yield.
Do I have a so moved? So moved by Senator Cortez. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Candela. Is there any discussion on that motion? Senator Chaput.
Like, we've had other policies that would kind of be the same thing that are not subsections. So, and considering that it's not specifically, or not like it's also covering the fact that there could be an event where there is no executive boards, I feel like it can still be set as its own separate thing. I yield.
Is there any other discussion? Our treasurer.
It feels to me that it's directly related to the preceding section because it essentially just says that 19.1.1 says that each of the individuals outlined must approve that this plan will go into effect with a designated time frame. In 19.1.2, it says in the event that those positions are not filled, right? It's directly a more niche case. I agree with you that it's getting a little, perhaps silly would be the best word with regard to the number of subsections, but I think that does occur in policy when you have just so much detail, right? We're outlining a lot of things, and that's the point of this bill. I think it's appropriate to structure our policy as, broadly speaking, overarching sections, subsections. I think the customary term is actually division, not a subsection. So with regards to the formatting, that's definitely something we could look at. I yield to our advisor.
I actually here have to side a little bit or agree with Forrest in that 19.1 is saying what needs to happen, right? So then in 19.1 it's saying this is how you do it. And then 19.1. If that can't be possible. So those are both of the subsections are related directly to 19.1. I do see a separation. I think it is appropriate to stay the way that it is, but that's just my opinion, so I yield.
All right. Is there our treasurer?
My reading of it, right, is that 19.1.1 specifies that, all of the above have to approve, right? 19.1.2 provides for what happens if 19.1.1 isn't possible. It's not so much referring to 19.1.0 because 19.1.0 doesn't clarify that all of those individuals have to approve. It just says that, the SGU Executive Board Advisor, Vice President for Student Affairs can deem the student government in a period of emergency action. 19.1.1 specifies that it has to be unanimous approval, right? 19.1.2 says if unanimous approval isn't possible because those seats are empty, here's what happens. So it does feel like it falls very neatly under 19.1.1. I yield.
Is there any other discussion? All right. Seeing as there is no more discussion, we will move into voting on this motion to move 19.1.2 to 19.1.1.1. All in favor, please raise your hand. All who oppose? And all who abstain. That passes 4-1-3. All right, we are now back into discussion for the article bill as a whole. Senator Chaput.
Forum to 155.
Yep. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Wu. Is there any discussion on pushing open forum back to 155? Senator Fisher.
We shouldn't do that because what if more people came in for their candidates to announce their candidacy and we don't give them adequate time before their 2 p.m. class. So I just feel like this is very unnecessary. So I just want to put that out here.
Our treasurer.
We have 3 minutes before we are mandated to go into open forum unless this motion is approved, and we still have an entire other bill on the table. We've not yet even finished with our current one. I'm going to yield to the chair.
All right. Is there any other discussion? All right. Seeing as there is no more discussion, we will move into voting to push back open forum. All in favor, please raise your hand. All who oppose? And all who abstain. That passes 7-1-0. All right, we are now back into discussion on the bill as a whole, adjusting that emergency action period. Is there any more discussion on that? All right, seeing as there is no more discussion, Bailey, is your hand up? Okay, just, no, it's okay. It was like twitching, so I didn't know if like that was you trying to get my attention or. All right, seeing as there is no more discussion, we will move into voting. All in favor of the bill, please raise your hand. All who oppose? And all who abstain. That passes 8-0-0. All right, moving on. Bill 2425-10, Senator Wu.
Motion to accept Bill number 2425-10.
I don't think we need a second, right? Nope, we do not. Cool.
We, the members of the student government at Utica of SUNY Poly, as represented in the Senate, do hereby enact as follows. The purpose of this bill is to remove Article 26 from the policies and procedures and alter Article 11. The end goal is to minimize policy redundancy and properly address the needs of SGU members.
We are now in discussion. Senator Chaput.
Similar with that last bill, can I make a motion to change the duration to state what was needed? I forget what the exact words were, if I could refer to our president.
It was upon ratification of the Senate.
Yes, that one there.
All right, do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Mavros. Is there any discussion on changing the wording under duration? All right, seeing as there is no discussion, we'll move into voting. Does anyone oppose unanimous consent? Nope, cool, that passes. All right, we are now back into discussion of the bill as a whole. Is there any other discussion? Senator Chaput.
So in the last policy meeting, we were looking over this. I know it was an informal meeting, but we were discussing over this. Some of the changes we were looking to either make as a motion or maybe other things, potentially tabling back. The thoughts were change. So we were looking at which sections we could add in, because I know the main concern was having a timeline and things like, and then also listing out reasonings for excuse if an excuse is valid. So we were looking at having the excuses valid, maybe follow it in as either a subsection or something where it included illness, emergency, and or academic or athletic commitments. Along with that, we were looking at adding a section to Section 6, which has to do with our contracts, stating that in the event the SGU member has an outstanding requirement that interferes with their contractual obligations, required to be excused, they are to inform their immediate supervisor. And then two subsections following that saying timeline members are encouraged to inform their supervisor at least 5 business days before the start of the expected absentee period. That's your timeline there. And then in the event that their immediate supervisor denies their excused absence, they're able to appeal by going to the SGU vice president and then further to the SGU advisor. As for the Senate members here, I'd like to ask if that is too much of a mouthful, and if you would like to see that on paper by tabling this back, or if you wouldn't mind this being a motion set in right now so that we can vote on this today. I yield.
Our treasurer.
Would Senator Chaput be willing to email out that snippet just to the horseshoe?
Do you mind if I pass that on to Senator Mavros?
Senator Mavros.
I have it up. I will send it out.
Awesome, thank you. All right, well, that's our advisors.
You say it plural, it always confuses me. I'm sorry. I really appreciate the thoughtfulness. Thank you for paying attention to the feedback. I appreciate Policy Committee doing that. Something that I've been thinking about over the past week is I've kind of been revisiting this legislation in my head and thinking back to when it started and why it started and the thought process behind the implementation of it, because we haven't always had this policy. So I'll share for just a second. I'll try to keep it brief. But it started when we had a student who was going through a very hard mental health challenge, and they were in the hospital and out of the hospital and in the hospital and out of the hospital, and they just felt like they couldn't also take on SGU, right? But that's a very personal situation, and it's really hard to tell your peer, even though they're your supervisor in this situation, it's really hard to share some of those details with someone who we expect to be confidential, but it doesn't necessarily stay where it's supposed to stay. And it's not always on purpose. Sometimes it just comes out like, oh, they told me they're in the hospital. We probably shouldn't say that, right? So as much as I appreciate your thoughtfulness with the tiered system, I wonder if it's worth a conversation or a thought process of maybe it comes to an advisor or a member of CSI or someone else so that a student doesn't have to tell another student something that might be really private or personal, and putting that responsibility on the supervisor to make a determination of if it's enough to be considered like a verified excuse or an appropriate excuse. I don't know. I just started, we can play with that a little bit, and if it does go back to policy committee, it feels like we can have I could help with that wording if you want to. I just think there might want to be some thoughtfulness as to not having to share too much personal information with a peer, and what makes sense if we aren't going to do that. And then also thinking about, it was put in place for more than just like, I might miss one meeting. The vacation policy was put into place. It's not so much of, I know there was a lot of talk last week about, we don't take vacations, we're in school. It's not always about a vacation. Sometimes it's about something that takes you away and it's out of your control, or it's something that can't be avoided, and not necessarily having to give a reason. So I'm taking my vacation this week. They might be going to a funeral somewhere. They might be going for whatever reason somewhere that they maybe don't feel comfortable sharing. So that's just something to think about. I see a lot of hands and a lot of thoughts about that. But if it does go back to policy, I'm happy to kind of work through some of those conversations, and I yield.
I'm going to respond to that. I think that that's totally fair, as long as the immediate supervisor does get back your verdict in case it is private. I had another thought. Oh, I'm not going to say it. Wildcat Media.
I think what you said is like really strong, but I feel like maybe giving the person the option to either go to the supervisor or go to either, I guess, even disability services or a member of like the student affairs or CSI. I mean, I don't know really CSI because some members of CSI aren't really like as enmeshed in student government as others, but I think that giving the option, some people may be more comfortable with their supervisor versus going to a faculty member, and so I yield.
All right. Is there any more discussion? Senator Mavros.
I just want to make a quick mention. I just sent out the email of the changes as well as a link to the document on the minutes of that meeting so you can see a bit more context. I yield.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Is there any more discussion? Our treasurer.
I guess I'd just like to ask the chair of policy committee if they believe that this amendment should be made on the floor or if it should be tabled back to policy committee for more discussion. I yield.
I would personally table it back to policy committee. That's actually why if no one else was going to raise their hand, I was going to entertain the motion myself, just but to be honest with you. Senator Fisher.
Can I entertain can I make a motion to table this back to policy committee?
Do we have a second? Seconded by everyone. Senator Chaput. Is there any discussion for tabling this back to policy committee? All right. Seeing as there is no discussion, we'll move into voting. Does anyone oppose unanimous consent? All right. That passes. That is now back to policy committee. And with that, that concludes old business, and we are now in swear-ins. Senator Mavros, please come to the middle of the horseshoe.
Oh, gosh.
All right, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Christopher Mavros,
will faithfully uphold
uphold
the student government at Utica Constitution
the student government of Utica Constitution
and carry out the duties of
and carry out the duties of
state your organization and position
SGU Senate Pro Tem
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
and will represent the students of SUNY Poly
and represent the students of SUNY Poly
in a fair and unbiased manner.
in a fair and unbiased manner.
All right, congratulations.
Do we have the... Yeah. All right. With that, we are now in open forum. Does anyone have anything for open forum? Senator Candela.
Can I entertain the motion to reopen the minutes from February 13th? Can I?
Yeah, you could just make the motion.
Can I motion?
Yeah, sorry, I was just confused. My mind was like.
Can I
Anyways.
motion to reopen the minutes for February 13th? There's a couple
Yeah.
discrepancies.
Do I have a second? Second. Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, when last week when Grayson sent them to us because we went back over things, I found a couple of zeros missing in some of the numbers.
Got it.
Wait, which minutes? From what?
February 3rd.
For the official business
They're
meetings?
labeled February 13th.
For the Senate meetings, thank you.
Yes.
All right, do we have a second for that motion?
I'm just trying to.
All right, you don't have to second if you don't want to.
I thought that someone else would, and then they didn't.
Okay, well, anyway, seconded by Senator Wu. All right, we are now in discussion to reopen the minutes of February 13th. Is there any discussion? Nope. All right, with no discussion, we will move into voting. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All who oppose? And all who abstain. That passes 7-0-1. We are now in the minutes of February 13th. Is there any discussion on the minutes for February 13th? Senator Candela.
Motion to amend under Resolution 2425-16 reserves poll, where it says 30 commas 00 and 35 commas 00 to 35,000 and 30,000, but 30,000 and 35,000 in that order.
Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Chaput. Is there any discussion for that motion?
There's one more number that has to be changed.
Amend your motion.
I would also like to amend the motion to add under the vote for that where the emotion there was another motion to change the number at the end to 4900 to 49. Sorry, I am speaking.
It's okay. Take your time.
To 94, 00 to 94,000. Under after we amended the original thing to 35.
All right. Do we have a second for that amendment? Seconded by Senator Wu. Is there any discussion for the amendment to that motion? All right. Seeing as there is no discussion, we will move into voting. Does anyone oppose unanimous consent? Does everyone understand what President was saying? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. All right. Does anyone oppose unanimous consent? All right, that passes. The motion is now amended. We are now in the motion to change all of that. Is there any more discussion on that motion? Our advisors.
Can I entertain some sort of a motion to also address the misspelling of Senator?
I think that would just be House rules. Okay. Is there any other discussion in that motion? All right. With that said, we will move into voting. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All who oppose, and all who abstain. That passes 8-0-0. We are now in the minutes of February 13th, 2025. Is there any other discussion? All right. Seeing as there is no discussion, we'll move into voting. Does anyone oppose unanimous consent? All right. That passes. We are now back into open forum. Our audience member. You can take the mic.
Petition here. I've had it going. Oh God, I can hear my voice. I've had it going for about a week and a half. You guys be okay if I read the petition summary real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. The purpose of the petition is to request that the chair of the SGU Senate meetings consider incorporating a form of media, such as subway surfers during the meetings, The intent is to enhance focus and engagement with the main points of discussion, reducing the likelihood of distractions and improving overall productivity, participation, and attendance during the meetings. Overall, the petition went pretty good. Overall, it went pretty good. I got a total of 239 signatures. I also did a form with the a survey with the petition, which I collected some comments by students here from SUNY Poly, and I just want to read some of them out. Not everything is pertaining to this bill. Some of it is just general things.
Can you, by chance, make those separate? Just
Yes.
because the petition would have to be its own thing, even if the form is on the petition, the only thing that we could accept is the petition, I'm
Okay.
pretty sure, right?
Yes.
I'm going to take that as a yes. So I think now you just give the petition to our Chief Justice and he has to verify it. Within the next week. You have time. And now you can feel free to read off.
The comments.
Yeah.
So, some of the comments. I'll just reading off. This is all of them. I did not exclude any. One, this is a really funny idea. Snacks or drinks may also help, even just a coffee station with something small to snack on the side. Other forms of media, such as cutting foam, slime, Minecraft, or 5-minute crafts should also be shown. There should be content such as cooking videos, hydraulic press videos, and cutting fruit. I would attend the meeting if it had Subway Surfers. I would attend twice if the meeting had involved Subway Surfers. -me. That was not me, by the way. They just put -me. I feel as though other types of game clips would also help. I have watched all the meetings this semester. I think it would be more engaging if game clips were played. Quote-unquote, slay. Media which allows audience to better follow/understand what is being discussed is beneficial, not TikTok brain rot. I believe Subway Surfers will be an invaluable element of these meetings. I feel that the meetings are hard to follow due to not being able to hear everyone, due to either faulty mics or representative mumbling and not speaking clearly. I feel that how I, as a student, can share my input during SGU meetings is difficult to find out, and that there should be more accessible for students to see. I think arguing about Subway Surfers video might be more of a distraction than actually having the video. Worst case scenario, turn it off at some point. Best case scenario, more people show up to SGU meetings moving forward. TikTok brain rot, example, I'm just a girl. House MD, good doctor. I feel as if the meetings aren't well advertised. I would love to attend them if posts were made on Instagram, poster made, etc. There's also an app that allows you to upload notes and it generates text and audio over popular videos, Minecraft, Subway Surfers, etc. And the final one is, what is your favorite Subway Surfers character?
Thank you for the petition and the notes. Is there anything else for open forum? Senator Chaput.
Do like debates and stuff after the election already opens up? I yield.
That was just how it was planned, sadly. It might have just been a... Do you want to? Because I just kind of...
It's not ideal. It's not how we would like it to be. But if we're being very honest, the election wasn't done in the time that it should have been done. And so in order to fit everything in the time that after, like there was no window. We were out of weeks of how do we fit in this number of, like we have to swear in by this date. We have to back it up by the training weeks. We have to back it up by how many weeks of election. We have to back it up by how much candidacy time we have to allow. And because of the extreme delay in starting the election, Bailey and I created a timeline. It's the only place that we could fit it in, and we wanted to certainly prioritize that there is a debate. We wanted to give people the floor, but there was no time between when the candidacy period ended and when the election could start in order for it to fit in.
And just to add on, for more like a specific reason, is because today we had candidates announced, and so there was nowhere between today at 12:30 and 2 o'clock when the election opens that we could
don't have to vote before, you know what I mean? Like wait until the debate if you want to hear more from the candidates to get like your questions answered or to find out more. So you should, if you haven't gotten it, you might want to get it this afternoon.
I also just very quickly want to add in, when we were discussing this too, now that I remembered I'm not nearly as flustered anymore. I never thought I'd be put on blast. The debate for me mentally was, do we want to give more time for people to announce their candidacy or to give like a proper time for debates? And I chose candidacy in this for the sake of making sure that anyone who wants to run can run. With that said, is there anything else? I'm going to yield to our treasurer.
Just to respond to that for a minute, looking at the election timeline, I see that the election is starting today, April 3rd, but it's not closing until April 17th. So that's a 2-week period. Our elections are, by policy, required to be at least 3 days long. We've done week-long elections before. I know when we did our special election earlier this semester, we didn't reach our quota in 1 week, but we are doing tabling. We're doing, I think, more announcements. There's a lot more involvement in this election than there was in our special election. Personally speaking, I'm confident that we could probably hit our 5% quota within 1 week. I understand it's a little late to change it, but I guess I'm curious why the debate couldn't be on April 8th and then the election opened 2 days later, April 10th. That would give us a week for the election. We'd push for it, right, to hit our 5% quota, but 5% is still a relatively low number of voters to get. I'm going to yield to our advisor.
I agree. Completely, 5% is a fairly low number, but as we saw with the special election, extensions do happen, and if an extension was needed, we were far past our deadline, so we unfortunately couldn't. And it was appropriate to keep it for 2 weeks because, again, if we can't end it early because it is promoted to be the 17th, but if we had to end it early, we would have not had time. But now that it is the 17th, we have time for training, time for swearing, and the appropriate amount of time.
Is there anything else for open forum? Senator Mavros.
So I'm going to do a shameless plug for my committee tomorrow. Safety and Facilities meeting tomorrow at 11 in the SGU conference room. We were talking about a few different things. One of them is how Stop the Bleed kits around campus, which for those you don't know are basically first aid kits, mainly focused on trauma-related incidents, mainly blood control, as that is a very leading cause of death and injury prevention. That's one of the topics we're talking about too. So if anyone can stop by, share any opinions, have any other concerns around campus, feel free. Thank you.
Right. Senator Fisher.
The chair of food, would you want to give a report for food committee? Would that be able to happen?
Yeah. You can give
I
a
yield
report
to
for food committee if you have one.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
So we met this past week. It went really well. I'm really excited it went really well. And I just wanted to let everyone know, there will be QR codes that are posted up around the dish. Oftentimes those are used to tell about what we don't like at the dish. However, it really does help the staff more if we do let them know what we do like at the dish. That way we can see those things come back instead of just telling them hey, your food isn't the greatest. Because then what can we do with that information? Along with that, I believe. Great. Yes. We're just going to make an announcement just to let everyone know. Make sure to use your points, your Wildcat dollars, at the end of the year before the end. Yeah, before the end of the month, typically, just because you can order by the case, as long as you just talk to. I think it's Ray. It's the guy with the lab coat. Brad, I think his name is. Brad or Mallory. Just use up all of the Wildcat points. Sorry about that, but I just wanted to communicate that with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Our treasurer.
This is something I neglected to mention in my original report. I just wanted to announce to the Senate that the reserves poll has been signed. So all the processing should be completed at this point. That's our reserves poll for this year. So I just want to say thank you to the Senate, thank you to Budget Committee, thank you to the orgs for submitting that. I yield.
Our vice treasurer.
Yeah, this is more so for safety and facilities. The campus center, the disability button for the door when you're leaving doesn't work. then in a risking, one of the doors hasn't had a handle all year, so students are relying on the disability button. If that breaks, they don't really have a way to get in unless they go around the building. Yeah, I agree.
So, point of information, it is 2:07.
Yeah, I just have a question.
Yeah.
Actually, can you send me a gap?
Senator Fisher. Yeah. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Chaput. Does anyone? Is there any opposition to adjournment? All right. That passes.